keeping one foot in the gutter and one fist in the gold. Nixon Starchild remembers old school Headbangers Ball, and so should you. Join the Heavy Underground today. In celebration of the 30th anniversary of Mortis's second album, 1994's Faute til Etrusque, the singular specter with a storied history as both the original bassist for Emperor and the progenitor of the dungeon synth genre, has undertaken a sojourn across North America, reaching out to crypts and graveyards across the land to perform his somber Era 1 dirge. Preserving Underground in New Kensington, Pennsylvania, was chosen for a presentation of this melancholy epic on September 9th, 2024. Joining this portion of the journey were a pair of dungeon synth purveyors, local artist Hillsfar and Massachusetts-based act Somber Arcane. In a surprising twist, a harsh noise tsunami was added to the bill, with Brighter Death Now joining the fray. Traversing the realm of Hillsfar is like no other. Blade Runner meets Greensleeves, the one-man soundscape escapades of Hillsfar conjures views and vibes of a fantastical history to start the show. Ritualistic and stylized, Somber Arcane next evokes soundscapes of times gone by and times that never were, dissembling a fantastic wash of oral intrigue, Finnish folk instrumentation, table harp, samplers, keyboards, and other sources of audibly manipulated tones meld in the air to take the crowd on a journey of primal and etheric times gone by. As a table full of effect pedals is placed at the front of the stage and the lights drop to near darkness, save a suitably bleak and sinister video playing in the background, the mastermind of legendary harsh noise label Cold Meat Industries, Roger Carmanek, takes the stage to abrade the audiences with an entrancing set of quarreling distortion and tidal waves of redlined electronics. Heavily processed vocals take us place in the sonic maelstrom with a delightfully maddening effect akin to someone screaming outdoors into the full force of a hurricane. With a simple stage setup, several backdrop screens, a stark and creepy slideshow picture presentation, and a center stage instrument stand looking like a rusty steampunk organ, the ghoul himself, Mortis, strides on stage to a thunderous reception. Celebrating his 1994 release, Faute til Etrusque, this tour, titled The Dungeons Are Calling USA Tour 2024, finds our musical misanthrope performing the album in its entirety. Dark and foreboding, the pictures being projected provide a stark black and white backdrop for the morose and pensive performance style of Mortis himself. The entire night was a triumph of atmosphere and escapism, with each artist evoking a unique and overwhelming ambience. Hillsfar, Somber Arcane, and the surprising addition of Brighter Death Now contributed a piece to one of the more distinct nights of musical exploration I have had the pleasure of attending. Fully invested in character and exhibition, the human named Havard Ellefson, but otherworldly specter called Mortis, was singularly able to conjure a crypt-like temperament with his sparse but evocative visuals and a somberly possessed performance, all of the hallmarks of a true metal memory. Striking out from the Bay Area on their Battle of 24 tour, thrash metal stalwarts Exodus spent the fall of the year leveling clubs and theaters across the land. Led by founding member Tom Hunting and near-founder Gary Holt, Exodus's lineup of thrash masters includes Jack Gibson, on bass since '97, guitarist Lee Altus, with the band since 2005, and longtime on and off associate Steve Zetra Sousa, providing the leather-lined vocal onslaught. Bringing the clamoring din to Preserving Underground in Pittsburgh's outlying New Kensington neighborhood on November 23, 2024, this quartet of heavy metal brutality left a mark on the venue's larger chapel space. Starting off the night with a sludged-out miasma of abrasive, noisy-soaked heaviness, Candy set the stage for an unrelenting night of loud and aggressive music. Spastic and dirty, these fellas, based in Richmond, Virginia, have struck out across the nation on this thrash-heavy Exodus tour to provide a touch of grime and fetid decay around the edges. Dead Heat aggressively skated through their set with a rambunctious SoCal rush, throwing in assorted gang chants and band chants for texture. Chris Ramos, the band's frontal mouthpiece, reps hardcore for the band's hometown of Oxnard, California, throughout their blistering set. Modern-age thrash for the masses, Havoc deployed a scathing set of aggression upon the New Kensington crowd. These Denver-based Heshers have a 20-year pedigree carving out a name for themselves and carrying the banner for metal. Classic thrash with a contemporary upgrade, Havoc showcased that they are more than capable heavy hitters waiting to ascend the thrash summit. Pure Bay Area mania from the inimitable Exodus, the long-running metal icons devastated New Kensington's Preserving Underground on November 23, 2024, with a blistering set that crossed 4 decades of underground credibility with an unrelenting catalog that epitomizes the San Francisco thrash metal scene. From Zetro Sousa's maniacal sneer shattering ears on songs spanning the band's entire career, to Tom Hunting's incendiary drumming setting a scorching pace unmatched by drummers a quarter of his age, Exodus ripped through their set with combustible aplomb, showing respect to both deceased bellower Paul Bailoff and former vocalist Rob Dukes. The band filled the night with tracks crossing all eras of the band's existence, with the propulsive bass attack of Jack Gibson setting a solid steel framework and the harrowing twin-axe attack of Lee Altus and Gary Holt hurling forth riffs like barreling slabs of magma and solos like lightning from the storming skies, hurtling riffs and hurtling bodies. Holt, Hunting, and crew rolled into western Pennsylvania and unleashed a maelstrom of metal madness. With Candy, Dead Heat, and Havoc in tow, Exodus left the Pittsburgh headbanging contingent battered, beaten, and bruised, but smiling ear to ear with a surefire metal memory. Joining forces for a monstrous summer run, Lamb of God and Mastodon set out across the land on the Ashes of Leviathan tour, celebrating the 20th anniversary of both Mastodon's concept opus Leviathan and Lamb of God's barn burner classic Ashes of the Wake. Joined by Malevolence and Slayer legend Kerry King, these two 21st century metal titans settled into Stage AE in Pittsburgh, PA on July 30th, 2024 for an unforgettable night of heaviness. Malevolence kicked off the night with a hard-hitting modern metal set. Hailing from Sheffield, South Yorkshire, and England, Malevolence walks a fine line between more accessible fare and outright hostility. Equal parts tough guy posturing and melodic emoting, Malevolence feels like a slightly heavier British five-finger death punch. Kerry King and his band of metal lifers took a song or two to get cooking, but really hit their stride as the set progressed. Death Angel's Mark Osegueda flayed the audience's eardrums wide open with his bellicose vocalizations, while Kyle Sanders from Hell Yeah held down a pummeling back end on bass. All of this while longtime Slayer cohort Paul Bosteff kept impeccable time on the drums. To the right side of the stage, laying down riffs and solo strafing runs alongside Mr. King, was Violence and former Machine Head guitarist Phil Demmel, dropping songs from Kerry's recently released solo debut From Hell I Rise, as well as a couple of Slayer classics. This experienced crew delivered a potent and powerful performance. Mastodon summoned a masterful set of their 2004 classic Leviathan as the Pittsburgh gloom set in. The propulsive rhythmic push and pull from Brand Daler on drums carried the crowd toward the horizon, while Troy Sanders' tidal bass manipulations helped steer the band forward through the night's set. A resplendent psychedelia fully permeated their stage show as the stalwart Georgia collective powered onward. From the engrossing stage show and mesmerizing instrumentation to Troy, Bran, and Brent trading off lead vocals with all four pulling together for an amazing harmonic experience, the emotive rush conjured by the band was truly mind-blowing. Ripping into the band's breakthrough release Ashes of the Wake, David Randall Blythe, the band's excoriating vocalist, wrenches his vocals straight from the depths of the earth as he strafes through the album's acerbic, post-millennial testament. The escalating rain only added to the crowd's intensity as the Ashes of the Wake celebration rolled on. An already game crowd threw themselves about with gleeful abandon as the band's forceful performance raked the crowd into a fury. Art Cruz's drumming carried the songs with fleet pacing and crisp rhythmic flow, while John Campbell's bass rumbled along with authority. The dual guitar threat of Mark Morton and Willie Adler provided the tip of the spear in the band's forward assault as these modern metal masters plied their trade. Celebrating 20 years of Ashes of the Wake, Lamb of God solidified their claim as one of the preeminent heavy metal bands currently running the game. This night's show only reinforced that fact, leaving behind a tempestuous night of metal that created a clear and present metal memory. Hitting the road for an extended run of intimate theater performances in the spring of 2024, Metal Mavens Godsmack marked the 20th anniversary of their 2004 acoustic tour, which they managed to nestle among the North American dates on Metallica's Madly in Anger with the World tour, with this run called the Vibes Tour. Sully Erna, Robbie Merrill, Tony Rombola, and Shannon Larkin have taken this opportunity to share some seldom heard songs, reworked classics, a handful of covers, and stories from the band's career. Without hesitation, I joined a couple of friends and made the trip to Erie, Pennsylvania for the band's sold-out April 30th, 2024 stop at the ornate Warner Theater. Opening for the tour was Bastien de Cruz. With heartfelt songs about his parents, his best friend, and his dog, Bastien's set showcased the personal nature of his music. Laudable and wholehearted, though perhaps a bit out of place in such a grand setting, Bastien de Cruz offered a set full of positive reflections on life and better days. Billed as an intimate evening of music and untold stories, Godsmack's Vibes Tour keenly illustrated the depth and breadth of this Massachusetts-bred band's nearly 3 decades of rock and metal history. Setting a pace for greatness from the get-go, Godsmack took the stage with a brief tick-tock heralding the opening of time and never looked back. Shannon Larkin's timekeeping prowess provided a solid foundation for the band to cruise forward, while Robbie Merrill's bass bubbled and boiled, and Tony Rumbola leveled the terrain with powerful riffs and solos bulldozing from the speakers. A pair of ringers rounded out the sound, with Chris D'Accato contributing keyboards, backing vocals, and additional guitar, while Timmy Thuralt provided backing guitar and vocals. Showcasing the inherent power of the band's compositions, the night's performance ranged from acoustic to full electric. Classics like Love, Hate, Sex, Pain, Under Your Scars, and Voodoo found a home in the mix alongside seldom heard gems like Spiral, One Rainy Day, and Touche. Representing the band's more recent work, 2023's Lighting Up the Sky offered up a trio of tracks that showcased Godsmack's growth as songwriters with a strong and melodic flourish. A few strategically placed cover songs, including expansive renditions of Pink Floyd's Time and Led Zeppelin's No Quarter, as well as a heartening send-off with the Doobie Brothers' Long Train Runnin', kept the crowd guessing about what would come next until the very end. With Sully's personable style leading the night, Godsmack powered through a set spanning their entire career in an energetic and expressive rush. An incredible evening with an incredible band. Friendly banter, powerful vibrations, and on this early spring evening, Godsmack certainly delivered a metal memory. Careening back to life in 2024 with their first new album in 26 years and a cross-country trek stretching into mid-2025, Chicago-bred, noise-loving rockers The Jesus Lizard dropped into Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on December 9th, 2024 for an outstanding night of abrasive and angular rock and roll. Almost 30 years have elapsed since I first witnessed this band in person, and unfortunately, at 16 years old, I did not have the proper perspective to truly appreciate the discordant, spiraling rock and roll I was witnessing. Fast forward 29 and a half years to December of 2024, and the Jesus Lizard was back on the prowl, and the Pittsburgh crowd and I were ready for the angular oral onslaught. Beginning the night, recent Pittsburgh transplants Spotlights mesmerized the assembled horde with a big booming display of glacial post-metal excursions. Slow-moving moments break into petulant backwashes of noise, sludge, and air-starved melody as the slow-moving and contemplative trio won over the crowd. Having already checked their own gear, the Chicago offenders themselves took the well-lit stage in a workmanlike manner. With no spotlights or fanfare, and only a basic light show to set the mood, with an occasional abstract shape or design projecting behind them, the band was content to let their music do the talking. Anchored to the stage, Sims, Dennison, and McNeely provided a formidable backline to their frontman's confrontational style, with a near militant, steadfast delivery, strafing through the songs like a firing line in lockstep. Dwayne Dennison's sinewy guitar riffs hit with a tone like massive bridge cables. Mac McNeely's punctuating drums and Timekeeper's push provided the rails to ride on, and David Williams Sims' jackhammer bass provided a potent backdrop for David Yow's vocal histrionics. The push and pull of the crowd was incessant as the band lurched and surged through their set of abrasive rock. 3 times, David Yow took to the crowd for a surf session while continuing to bellow and screech into the microphone, cable trailing behind, fervent fans holding it aloft like a sacred string tethering him to the stage. The band's new album, Rack, was well represented in the song selection, with 8 songs making the cut as well as another new non-album song called Cost of Living making the rounds. A spiraling run of the band's classic material filled in the cracks, with crowd favorites like Boilermaker, Then Comes Dudley, Gladiator, and Monkey Trick, among many others, inciting a near-continuous churn across the floor of Stage AE. Writhing bodies surged left, right, front, and back throughout the night, ensnared by the band's precision strikes of abrasive rock, pummeling insistence, and ramshackle cadence. All of it held in thrall by Yao's evocative lyrics and visceral performance. All of it an indelible metal memory. With a one-off festival appearance at the recently reconstituted Milwaukee Metal Fest the day before, Municipal Waste decided to make a stop in the Steel City while traveling home to North Carolina. A long-standing affiliation with the city of Pittsburgh and its crusty underground punk and metal scene made the stopover an easy choice for a fun and low-pressure gig. So on May 19, 2024, the Party Thrash Masters brought their heavy metal beer bust to the Thunderbird Music Hall in Pittsburgh's Lawrenceville neighborhood. Local motorized D-Beat crew Mower opened the night with an energetic run of crusty, high-octane rock that seemed poised to burst at the seams. Barely contained chaos set to a barreling rhythmic cadence, Mower delivered a dirty and filthy good time. All hail Mower. Vicious Blade, led by charismatic frontwoman Clarissa Baldini, dropped a set of raging traditional metal power to keep the crowd running at a heated clip. The charging guitars and impactful vocals set a pace for quick and nimble metal. Next, Kentucky's Gates to Hell leveled the venue with a set of acerbic and openly hostile death metal just before Municipal Waste took the stage. From guttural churn to battering abuse, Gates to Hell offered a proper death metal beatdown to the assembled Pittsburgh Heshers. Municipal Waste tore straight into their set with no hesitation. Beginning the show with a clear buzz, Tony Forresta lunged into his vocals with gusto and screamed out with a noticeably joyful disposition all night. Dave Witt, a dynamo of tempo and pace, led the band forward with a compulsive battery. This storied drummer offered a solid foundation for the barely contained insanity racing all around. Raucous, twin riffing from Ryan Waste and Nick Polis drove the songs all night through hairpin curves, steep drop-offs, and flat-out high-speed burns down the highway. Frantic and high tension, this careening tandem of thrash pushed the edges to the point of breaking, with Landfill holding down the barreling low end on bass and locking in with Dave Witt to hammer these songs home. Continuing to pay respect to Pittsburgh as a longtime support base throughout the evening, the band jumped between their albums with ease. Song after song careened from the stage in succession, covering all 5 of the band's albums in just under an hour. Sending the crowd out with a hard-earned degree in sore necks, sore bodies, and ringing ears, Municipal Waste showed up, brought the party, and left a trail of thrash destruction in their wake. Municipal Waste unleashed a set cutting across the entire Waste discography, delivering a comprehensive set covering almost 2 decades of party thrash classics. This 20-song performance left the Pittsburgh crowd breathless and spent. Between the non-stop onrush of the band's high-energy metal and the oddly shaped floor creating a unique mosh pit obstacle course, Municipal Waste's takeover of the Thunderbird Music Hall was a true metal memory. Always finding new and interesting ways to present their back catalog to their voracious fans, London-born British metal stalwarts Iron Maiden spent most of 2023 and 2024 putting together a stage show largely centered on 2 of their albums. Using their most recent release, Senjutsu, and the classic sci-fi epic Somewhere in Time as the foundation for the night, Bruce, Steve, Nico, Yannick, Adrian, and Dave had an exciting slate of songs to draw from to craft the setlist. Returning to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on November 8, 2024, the Mighty Maiden arrived at a sold-out PPG Paints Arena for a night of heavy metal glory. Joined on this trek by Mongolian upstarts The Who, the night began with a hypnotic set of Mongol-tinged metal as The Who led the crowd on a journey across the steppe, horses locked in rhythm and the wind gusting past your face. From a trot to a full-bore gallop, their songs conveyed a powerful sense of movement, blending traditional Mongolian instrumentation and throat singing with Western drums, bass, and guitars to craft a unique style. With UFO's Dr. Doctor offering the final warning just before showtime, timeless British metal from Iron Maiden soon filled the arena in Pittsburgh to rapturous applause. A highly energetic and visually stunning show unfolded as Bruce spent the evening running back and forth across the stage, front to back, and all around the surrounding ramparts with the energy of a man 1/4 his age, all the while excitedly belting out songs from 2021's Senjutsu, down the line all the way to 40-year-old classics from the band's debut album with equal ease. The triple axe attack from Dave Murray, Yannick Gers, and Adrian Smith is second to none. Hard-hitting and layered riffs, Searing guitar melodies, soaring solos, and tasteful shading around the edges, the way the three guitars interact through the songs is on another level. Steve Harris's ever-present bass rumble shifts from lead-like virtuosity to a power-hungry riff engine, working as an intricate tone and pace setter. Nico McBrain's drumming has always had the patient yet persistent power of plate tectonics. Assured and definite, every strike of the drumsticks reverberates with propulsive power. The intrepid British institution Iron Maiden brought their propulsive live presence to Pittsburgh with a set list drawing equally from their most recent release, 2021 Senjutsu, and the 1986 masterpiece Somewhere in Time. With an additional handful of songs cutting across the band's classic era, these longtime lads from England kept the energy moving all night. Bruce's energetic presence and the band's full-force potency on display, Iron Maiden brought an epic night of powerful heavy metal to the Steel City. The band's forward-thinking past, mingling with their dense and expansive present, made for a fun and rousing metal memory. Crossing the globe on their M72 takeovers, the Metallica machine has been taking over cities for weekend-long celebrations of all things Metallica, featuring 2 shows on Friday and Sunday, each with unique sets, a whole slate of events focusing on the band and their fans run throughout the weekend. Pop-up stores with exclusive merchandise, concert movie screenings, question and answer sessions with legendary photographer Ross Halfin, and other unique events are also part of the experience. Making the journey to Illinois for the band's Chicago takeover, a weekend of Metallica fun and frivolity was on tap, and the first night, August 9th, 2024, would prove to be a most memorable one. First up, Mammoth WVH is a talented group with a naturally gifted songwriter at the helm. As a band leader, Wolfgang has come into his own with an amiable stage presence, enviable guitar chops, and a keen melodic sense. His modern rock songs showcase a tuneful ear that hopefully will continue to grow and evolve in the coming years. This was my 3rd time witnessing this reformed iteration of Pantera take the stage, and they just keep getting better. Charlie Benante is the most underrated drummer in all of music. Channeling Vinny's power and groove is no mean feat, and Charlie handles it with deft potency. Zakk Wylde has shown more ability and nuance in his playing than has been heard in a long time, hitting the touchstones of Dime's incomparable guitar work while filtering in his own brand of unhinged precision. Zakk is paying the most honorable tribute to the tragically departed Dime. As for the Cowboys from Hell themselves, Rex is blowing out the low end with his rangy presence, while Phil is turning in some of the best vocal performances of his career. This new era is set apart by its own blistering immediacy, and the fervent dedication shown by this group is a true tribute to the fallen Abbott brothers. Offering up a deeper cut run-through of the band's catalog from 1983's Kill 'Em All through 2023's 72 Seasons, Night 1 of Metallica's M72 Chicago takeover saw classic cuts like Blackened, Orion, and Fuel finding common cause with new era heavy hitters like 72 Seasons, If Darkness Had a Sun, and Shadows Follow. Taking the stage like conquering heroes, Metallica started with the intensity set to 11 and never relented. Delivering on all fronts, August 9th began and ended with a bang. The onrush of Creeping Death, Harvester of Sorrow, Holier Than Thou, and King Nothing set the tone for the night. By the time the finality of Seek and Destroy and Master of Puppets were echoing far through the Chicago night and into eternity, the crowd had been let loose onto the city, ears humming and spirits stirred. Buzzing from the show, the Metallica family anxiously awaited Part 2 on Sunday night. Embarking on a tour of North America in the fall of 2024, the American contingent of British prog legends King Crimson, Adrian Belew, and Tony Levin were joined by fellow musical masterminds, renowned guitar virtuoso Steve Vai and the rhythmic dynamo Danny Carey of Tool. The tour celebrated 3 largely unheralded King Crimson albums from the 1980s, Discipline, Beat, and 3 of a Perfect Pair. Bringing this tour de force of musical ability to the Palace Theater in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, on October 22, 2024, attendance was a must for any and all music nerds in the region, and I made the pilgrimage accordingly. The prodigious rhythmic force at the heart of Tool, Danny Carey, while playing perhaps the most scaled-down kit I've seen him play live, brought the intricate drum work to the forefront. Nuanced and propulsive, Danny Carey's joyous expressions all night underlined his outstanding performance. Steve Vai's virtuosic ability settled deftly into the interstices of the group's immense talent, roaring forth with sky-rending solos or providing a subtle tone to shade or shape a song's passage. Steve Vai's tasteful playing was sublime. Tony Levin, holding court in his section of the stage, exhibited a wide variety of sonic wizardry, lively switching between bass guitar, Chapman stick, keyboard synthesizer, and at times playing two of these instruments simultaneously. At center stage, Adrian Belew brought an expansive guitar range that veered from the natural world to industrial clang, from otherworldly lift to heavy riffs. Experience with Frank Zappa and the Talking Heads, in addition to King Crimson, has crafted a tone and technique monster who leads this band with breathless ease. An engrossing night of superior musicianship, Beat reached for the sky and soared far above it. Breathing new life into this trio of King Crimson albums, Belew, Levin, Vai, and Carey demonstrated how forward-thinking these recordings were for their time as the band navigated the turbulent 1980s. From new wave experimentation to 90s alternative rock and heavier textures and tones, the influence of these albums has only grown clearer over the years. The exciting renditions this collective, known succinctly as Beat, delivered from the stage are fully worthy of the King Crimson legacy, and hopefully they decide to stay for a while. While not of the usual extremity, this performance by the musical entity known as Beat was retained as a potent metal memory. With a questionable history regarding heavy metal artists, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has certainly charted an odd course in celebrating this particular section of the broader rock world. For every Black Sabbath, Metallica, or Judas Priest, the final arbiters at the Rock Hall seem oblivious to bands like Iron Maiden, Motorhead, Ted Nugent, or Thin Lizzy. One glaring omission has stared them in the face for almost 20 years, and the opportunity for repentance finally came in 2024. So when the news broke that one of the fountainheads of all that is heavy was set to finally be inducted, the announcement was taken as a decree from on high that attendance was mandatory. Showing up in support of the one and only Ozzy Osbourne, this long-deserved induction on October 19, 2024 in Cleveland, Ohio was bittersweet. The Prince of Darkness himself was unable to perform due to ongoing health issues. However, an all-star lineup showed up and showed out to celebrate the legendary Ozzy. Inducted by Jack Black, Ozzy was seated on a black throne befitting his iconic persona, in rapt attention as a band of heavy hitters stepped up to pay tribute. Backed by Adam Wakeman on keyboards, Andrew Watt on guitar, Chad Smith on drums, and Robert Trujillo on bass, an all-star cast featuring Wolfgang Van Halen, Steve Stevens, Billy Idol, Jelly Roll for some reason, and Maynard James Keenan paid tribute to the madman himself. This rotating cast of characters gave a solid run-through of Crazy Train, Mama I'm Coming Home, and No More Tears as Ozzy officially took his place in the Rock Hall. Other standout performances included an expressive performance from Peter Frampton, showcasing the power and reach of Baby, Something's Happening, and Do You Feel Like We Do across a half a century, while What Remains of Foreigner jammed out with Slash and Sammy Hagar among some other guests. An energetic, star-studded tribute to A Tribe Called Quest made a mark, while Kool and the Gang got the crowd shaking. The finale featured Dave Matthews Band jamming out to the Talking Heads Burning Down the House, sending everyone home happy. At nearly 5.5 hours, the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony was an extensive night filled with speeches, video packages, and performances. With a sold-out crowd in attendance and definitive cheering sections showing love for specific artists, the evening was full of fun, excitement, and good feelings. Despite its proximity to a very divisive American election, all musicians, guests, and speakers maintained a low-key and stress-free presence, focusing on the artists being celebrated and the happiness, joy, or outright escape their music brings to us all. Being in the room to witness and celebrate these vibrant performers, especially the inimitable Ozzy Osbourne, was a privilege and honor and a true metal memory.